If you watch as many movies as I do every year, it can feel like a lot of movies. They're not good, they're not terrible, they're just kind of there. You don't think a whole lot of them after you see them. This was a movie that blew my expectations away. I mean, this movie sent me on a roller coaster of emotions. I laughed, I shed a tear, I gasped at points. This is a movie I'm going to be talking about at my end of year rankings for sure, and it's the last movie I would have ever expected to say that about. So Tuner is directed by Daniel Roher and stars Leo Waddell, Dustin Hoffman, and Havana Rose Liu. So what the movie Tuner is about is it follows a guy named Nicky who's a piano tuner because when he was a kid, he was a piano prodigy, virtuoso, but as he got older, he developed a hearing defect. It took his dreams away from him. But he's also one of these people with heightened senses, and he might be autistic as well. They don't really say that, but they kind of hint at it at points based on how he acts. And he's one of these guys who can sense pitch perfect sound. So that's why he tunes pianos, because he has a gift nobody else can have. And it's kind of like, in a very loose comparison, Baby Driver, but a way more serious, thrilling, romantic drama version of Baby Driver. You have this guy and he's tuning pianos, but he's kind of down on his luck. He's like, what can I do to get out of this rut? Because all he's doing is the same thing every day, very isolated, feels like he's weird, he's a failure, he has this defect. He meets this character played by Havana Rose Liu named Ruthie, who's a skilled pianist. But because he's trying to juggle so many different things in the world based on caring for this man's health, caring for his girlfriend, getting out of this rut economically, he realizes there's a way to put his skills to a better use, and that is use his heightened sense of hearing to unlock safes. It's one of these movies that starts off as like a rags to riches story where you have this guy who kind of is skilled, but he's just your everyday guy getting by. And then he realizes that if he does something, starts taking chances, he can get way ahead by using a skill that nobody else could ever find out about. And it's another one of these stories that sounds very familiar, but as it goes on, it's incredibly unique. This movie, again, gives you every emotion in the playbook. And it plays out a lot differently than a lot of movies that have tackled that formula of just having a guy go from nothing to something, lose it all. There's elements of that here for sure, can feel a little bit recycled, but I found this movie to be incredibly unique. This movie is like a romantic drama thriller with some other elements included, but it really blends them all seamlessly. But what I loved about this movie the most, by far, was the performances. I think this movie has some of the best characters of the year, and I'm going to double down on that by saying that the lead performance by Leo Waddell is the best performance and the best character of the entire year so far, Oscar worthy. Now, I said this movie was very unique, and it is because a lot of the movie feels almost tone deaf. There's a very heightened, muffled sound to everything going on because our main character, he wears these headphones over his ears. You feel like you're experiencing that as well because when our character's in turmoil, he's grabbing his ears. The whole movie kind of blacks out, muffles sound, even black screens at points, and it makes you feel like everything this guy is going through is very high stake. Like this guy is just not allowed to live a normal life, so he's very empathetic. His performance is awesome because it's so hard what he's asked to do. His character is very reserved. He's very isolated. Again, he always has headphones on. He doesn't talk a whole lot. And because of this, he has to illustrate everything he's doing in a very subtle and a very quiet way. So the majority of his acting and what he's asked to do is very small scale here, very simple conversations. He is able to portray so much emotion through this character with nothing but body language, eye movements. It's insane. Again, this is the best performance I have seen so far this year. I loved getting to know this character and all of the characters in it. There's a romance going on with Ruthie in this movie. Again, the pianist played by Havana Rose Liu. I love that. Maybe I'm just a sucker these days or something. I really dug their romance. It felt very believable. It felt very raw. That's a word I'm going to keep using about this movie. There is a relationship element here, but at no point does it feel like a forced rom-com, which I think is what kind of the stereotype is for why men don't like a lot of rom-coms. Because they can feel forced, they can feel cheesy. This felt like the way an interaction could actually manufacture itself in the real world. They don't really start dating until they've met a couple of times. They're never really fully on board with one another. There's always like some gray patches they're trying to work through. And it just felt believable. It felt raw. It felt relatable to relationships everyday people go through. So again, it makes both of these characters both likable and it makes them feel very believable, which makes this story, again, feel like something that could actually happen. It was also cool to see Dustin Hoffman back in the big screen. I don't know the last thing he's been in, but He was very funny in this movie. He's like the comedic relief character who's working with Nikki. He owns the business. And I just really liked the camaraderie, like the relationships going on between all of the people in this movie that are the central characters. Now, as much as I like this movie, I think the first half is better than the second half, but that's not to say the second half isn't good as well. I think the first half, though, the way it's structured, plays out a little bit more like an old school drama romance. And I think just the way the characters all interact is so fun that you just can't help but smile watching it. Second half of the movie, though, this movie goes balls to the wall. I mean, the second half of this movie, especially the ending, really reminded me of Uncut Gems. Very chaotic. It's very loud. There were 3 or 4 moments in this movie that made my entire theater, myself included, when it goes silent, audibly gasp. You're just like, holy shit, I hope that didn't happen. But just a movie that feels like it never gets old, even though it's in a subgenre we've seen an infinite amount of movies in. So the performances, obviously, I love those. I love the sound of this movie as well. It's very classical music heavy. There's a lot of pianos, a lot of things related to orchestra. I think that makes this movie feel kind of classy in a weird way when the majority of the movie's going on. But when you're on the thriller side of the movie and you're unlocking safes and there's crimes being committed, you have this very up-tempo, upbeat, almost EDM, like rhythmic music going on, club music. And it makes this movie feel very adrenaline based. It makes this movie feel very fast paced. Even though it's not a very fast paced movie, they do really heighten up those scenes. In fact, there's a scene in this movie where a character is unlocking a safe. And just think of the act of that, right? Somebody listening to sound and unlocking a safe. This movie turns that scene into like a 3-minute montage where it's blending sound and visuals being paired up with other characters' perspectives. And it's a really cool scene. It's very action-packed, it feels like. It's thrilling. And I don't know how a movie manages to pull that off when all the character's doing is turning a safe dial. But this movie does it, and that's a testament to the movie once again. Final 30 minutes of this movie are balls to the wall. Again, Uncut Gems worthy, where stuff really ramps up, shit hits the fan, and it will make you question in a weird way how you feel about the rest of the movie because it can almost feel disconnected. It's such a different movie. I loved it personally because I don't mind when a movie takes chances or something bad happens and it kind of puts you in a sour mood, but it does fit what the movie's doing. This movie has a lot of that in the back half. So it's not lost on me. There's going to be people who think this is kind of a tale of two movies where they just love elements of it, but they feel like the whole of it doesn't really come together. Not the case here. I think it does come together, and I think it is warranted to explore the movie, especially end it the way it does. But the only real negatives I have about this movie, and they are very, very nitpicky, I think this movie in a weird way is exploring so many good elements. Again, the character dynamics, the romance, the music, loved all of it. It almost feels like in a weird way, this is a movie that would have benefited for me being like 3 hours long. It kind of feels rushed at points. You have characters that are vital for certain parts of the movie. They're just not there at other parts of the movie. You have scenes that are kind of glossed over that are massively impactful related to the end of the film. When you get the explanation in the very final scene of the film, it doesn't really all come together with how that happened so quickly. So again, there are minor gripes I have with this and the way it is structured, but I'm one of these people, the intention behind it all, I freaking loved it. But a lot of people who take a chance on this movie are going to walk away saying, damn, that was a good drama. And as always, if you like this review, my name is Sean. Like, comment, subscribe, hype the video, join the channel down below so you don't miss my next content. And as always, if you want to support me more, feel free to become a channel member. It helps me keep doing this. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next review. Peace.